Good morning, dear students. In continuation to our previous lectures of employee relations and trade unions, today we'll be discussing about trade unions, what trade unions are. Basically, trade unions are voluntary organizations of workers as well as employers formed to protect and promote interest of their members. And when we talk about their members, they are the most suitable organizations for balancing and improving the relations between employer and employees. Well, trade unions have made headway due to rapid industrial development. Workers come together to maintain and improve bargaining power on wages and working conditions. The first organized trade union in India, named as Madras Labour Union, was formed in year 1918. And from the beginning itself, trade unions were not confined to workers alone. From 19th century itself, there were employers association in form of chamber of commerce, industrial associations, and many more to protect and promote the interest of their members in a concrete manner. And after independence, expansion of industrial activity and grouping workers' trade unions, which acted as a spur for strengthening and expansion of employers' organization. Well, in industrially advanced countries, trade unions has made a great impact on social, political, and economic life. And India, being an agricultural country, trade unionism is restricted to industrial areas, and it is still not in that particular phase as it is in rest of the countries. So the earliest known trade union in India were the Bombay Mill Hand Association, which was formed in 1890, and the Amalgamated Society of Railway Servant of India and Burma, formed in 1897. And there was one more union named as Printers Union, which was formed in Calcutta in 1905, and the Bombay Postal Union, which was formed in 1907, followed by Kamgar Hitwardak Sabha Bombay, which was formed in 1910. Basically, trade union movement began in India after the end of First World War. And after a decade following the end of First World War, the pressing need for the coordination of the activities of the individual unions was recognized. And thus, All India Trade Union Congress was formed in 1920 on a national basis. And the Central Labour Board, Bombay and Bengal Trade Union Federation was formed in somewhere in 1922. The All India Railways Federation was formed in the same year, and this was followed by the creation of both Provincial and Central Federation of Unions of Postal and Telegraph Employees. And if we talk about the origin of passing of Trade Union Act in India, it was a historic Buckingham Mill case of 1940, in which the Madras High Court granted an interim injunction against the strike committee of Madras Labour Union, forbidding them to induce certain workers to break their contracts of employment by refusing to return to work. So the trade union leaders found that they were liable to prosecution and imprisonment for bona fide union activities, and it was felt that some legislation for the protection of trade union was necessary. So in March 1921, under the leadership of N.M. Joshi, who was the General Secretary of All India Trade Union Congress, he successfully moved a resolution in Central Legislative Assembly recommending that government should introduce legislation for the registration and protection of trade unions. Although there was opposition from employers to the adoption of such a measure, however, it was not until 1926 that the Trade Union Act was passed. And Indian Trade Unions Bill 1925, it was passed by the legislature, received its assent on 25th of March 1926, and it came into force on 1st June 1927. And it was initially known as Indian Trade Union Act 1926, but then it was amended in 1964. And it was then the word India, it was omitted, and then it was known, since then it is known as Trade Union Act 1926. But basically, when we talk about trade union, that what trade union is. It is a union which is continuing long-term association of employees formed and maintained for the specific purpose of advancing and protecting the interest of members in their working relationship. This definition has been given by Dale and Yoder. And Sidney and Beatrice Webb defines trade union as a continuous association of wage earners for the purpose of maintaining or improve the conditions of their working lives. So basically it is a association in between which is formed by employees for the specific purpose of advancing and protecting interest of members in their working relationship. But there are certain salient features and characteristics of trade union. First is trade unions are essentially voluntary organizations. When we talk about trade unions, the membership in trade union is voluntary in nature. And that means one cannot be compelled or forced to be its member. In any industry or trade, the workers have the liberty to subscribe to trade union activities or to say to subscribe to trade union activities out of their sweet will. That is because if workers are forced to be its members, the very purpose of trade union is defeated. That means no one can force a worker to join trade union. So therefore, it is a voluntary organization. Then trade unions are democratic institutions. Obviously, it is a corollary of the statement which points that the above given safety indicates that trade unions are democratic in nature, wherein the leader of the trade union, it is made by the workers and workers are representing it, and it is formed for the workers. That is why it is having a democratic in nature. Then trade union is an association of workers and wage earners only. Well, when we talk about trade union, it is essentially a cooperative labor marketing association, and its purpose is to secure control of the supply of labor in one or more market and to maintain that control as a means of fixing the price of labor as well as the condition under which it works. So it may also try to advance the social, political, and cultural interest of its members. The labor union is continuous and relatively permanent combination of workers, and it is not temporary or casual. As we said that it is one of the, it is not as one-on-one daily day affair. They persist throughout the year and conceive for their purpose as one which is not merely immediate, but it is a continuous. So, trade union or a labor union is a continuous affair. That means it continues to exist. Members may go and come, but trade union remains over there as a continuous entity. Then the character of trade unions keeps on changing. Trade union changes their method and their working to adjust themselves to changing circumstances, for example, production. So therefore, there has been no finality about unions, their working and their methods. That means they are dynamic in nature. They are not static. They keep on changing with the changing times of the industry and with the changes, changes that are in the external environment. So character of trade unions, it keeps on changing. And it achieves its objective through collective action and through group effort. And negotiation and collective bargaining are tools for accomplishing these objectives. So these are some of the salient features or characteristics of the trade unions. When we talk about functions, that why trade unions exist, what are the functions of trade unions? uh, when we talk about say trade unions, they perform a number of functions in order to achieve the objectives. These functions can be broadly classified into three categories: militant function, fraternal function, and social functions. So talking about say militant functions, Basically, what militant functions is, it is one of the one set of activities which is performed by trade unions, which leads to the betterment of the position of their members in relation to their employment. The aim of such activity is to ensure adequate wages, secure better working condition and employment, and get better treatment from employers, etc. So when the unions fail to accomplish these aims by method of collective bargaining and negotiations, trade unions adopt an approach and put a fight with the management in form of maybe go slow tactics, strikes, boycott, gheraos. So therefore, these functions of the trade unions are known as militant or fighting functions. Thus, the militant functions of trade unions, sorry, so thus the militant functions of trade unions can be summed up. That why trade unions they adopt these coercive or militant functions to achieve higher wages and better working conditions, then to raise the status of workers as a part of industry, and to protect laborers against victimization and injustice. Basically, trade unions they they adopt these militant functions to secure and achieve economic security of the workers. Then second is fraternal functions. When we talk about fraternal functions of the trade unions, this is the say function which is performed by trade unions, which aims at rendering help to its members in times of need and improving their efficiency. So trade unions try to foster a spirit of cooperation and promote friendly industrial relations and diffuse education and culture among their members. So they take up welfare measures for improving the morale of workers and generate self-confidence among them. They also arrange for legal assistance to its members. So under fraternal functions, um, trade unions they provide legal assistance to its members if necessary. And besides these, they undertake many welfare measures for their members. For example, school for the education of their children, maybe library, maybe reading rooms, indoor and outdoor games, and maybe it could be other recreational facilities. Some trade unions even undertake publication of some magazine or journal. Basically, these activities, which may be called as fraternal functions, they depend on availability of funds. That means when unions they have sufficient funds, they go for these welfare functions. But that is possible only if they raise these funds. Basically, are raised by subscription from members and donation from outsiders, and also on their competent and enlightened leadership. So, thus the fraternal functions of trade unions, it can be summed up as wherein these functions are taken up for welfare measures for improving the morale of workers, to generate self-confidence among workers, to encourage sincerity and discipline among workers, to provide opportunities for promotion and growth, and to protect women workers against discrimination. So, under all these fraternal functions, trade unions take care of all these. Third important function of trade union is social function. So besides the main economic functions consisting basically of organizing unions and improving their terms and conditions of employment to enable workers to meet their physical needs, some unions have now started undertaking and organizing welfare activities and also providing variety of services to their members and sometimes to the community of which they are part, which may be grouped as, there could be let's say under these social functions, there could be welfare function, education, which are involved in making schemes, and research. So under welfare activities, they provide to improve the quality of work life, which including organization of maybe mutual fund, cooperative credit societies for providing housing, cooperative society stores, cultural programs, and banking and medical facilities, and training for maybe women in various crafts to help them to supplement their family income. Basically, it is for the society, for the upliftment of the society at large. That is why they are focusing to their families of the workers. Then second is under social function is education. So education of members in all respect and aspects of their working life, which includes improving their civic life, awareness in the environment around them, enhancement of their knowledge, particularly in regard to issues that concern them, their statutory and other rights and responsibilities, and maybe workers' participation in management. So education also under social functions, it's a very important aspect of this social function of the trade union that trade unions um, take into account. Then trade unions are also involved in making schemes and procedure for addressing their grievances, and some central or union organizations, they are also assisting government in implementing the workers education scheme. Like when adult education was implemented, so it was that was basically targeted to the laborers and the employees at the lower level of the industry or of a plant. So schemes like that, even government is even nowadays, when government wants to focus, you know, policies at in masses, and to implement it in for masses, so they do target trade unions for implementation purposes. Then publication of periodicals, maybe newsletters or magazines, for establishing communication with their members, making the latter aware of union policy, and stand on certain principal issues and personal matters concerning members, maybe such as births, deaths, marriages, promotions, and achievements. Then, last but not the least, is research. So, this basically this is gaining importance and is intended mainly to provide updated information to union negotiators at the bargaining table, and this research is also used by international bodies like ILO, World Bank, and all that. So research is to be more practical than academic, which is concerning problems relating to day-to-day affairs of the union and its activities, and union and management also, union and management relations. And what could these research activities be? Like collection and analysis of wage data, including fringe benefits and other benefits, and services through surveys of comparative practices, maybe data on working conditions and welfare activities. Then preparation of background notes for court cases, and also position papers for union officials, and collection and analysis of macro data relating to economy, industries, sectors, etc., and all the above say mentioned activities, basically, and are services which are considered normal activities of unions in the trade union, and which it stipulates the objectives on which general funds of the union can be spent. So this was under social function. One very important function is again there, which is political function. Political function, these functions include affiliating the union with political party, uh, which is helping the political party in enrolling members, maybe collecting donations, seeking the help of political parties during the periods of strikes and lockouts. Basically, political functions, it involves involvement of political function, uh, which is acting in the country, and it is basically a win-win situation for both. First, for political party as well as for trade union. Political party through trade unions, they get their enrollment, and they seek help of trade unions in making in implementing awareness programs, or in implementing, say, or in communicating political agenda to the masses, which is for the upliftment and the betterment of the country. And on the other hand, trade unions, what they get from affiliate, what they get from affiliation of political parties is they get donations, and it gives them more strength when it comes to negotiations and collective bargainings with the, maybe with the government, maybe with the employer. So political functions is involvement of political party, um, and which is giving more support to the trade union. So this was then this was all about the functions of the trade unions. Then we have very important aspect is registration of trade union. That means if you want to get your, say, trade union registered, so what is the process? According to the Trade Union Act 1926, of a four procedure involved in four step procedure is involved in registration of trade union, and which is first is appointment of registrar, second is mode of registration, third is right and duties of registrar, and fourth one is legal status of registered trade union. Talking about the appointment of registrar, Section 3 of Trade Union Act 1926, it empowers the appropriate government to appoint a person to be registrar of trade unions. The appropriate government may be state or central, or as the case may be, is also empowered to appoint additional and deputy registrar as it thinks fit for the purpose of exercising and discharging the powers and duties of the registrar. However, such person, they work under the supervisor and direction of the registrar, and he exercises such powers and functions of registrar with local limit, which may be specified for the purpose. And second is mode of registration. According to the Act, any 7 members or more persons who want to form trade union can apply for its registration to the Registration of Trade Union Act. To the registration of trade unions under Section 4 and Subsection 1 of the Trade Union Act 1926. So, but these applicants must be the member of trade union. And in order to check the multiplicity of trade unions, it is said that a number of persons framing a trade union for the purpose of registration, it should be increased to the, it is reasonably increased to 10% of the employees of the unit, which is subjected to minimum of 7 persons employed. So this is expected to strengthen basically the trade union movement. And third important point is application of for registration, which is given under section 5 of the Trade Union Act. Application of registration, it should be and it must be sent to the registrar of trade union in form A, which is given under which is given in the section 5 and which is required by the trade union under Trade Union Act 1926. And every application must be accompanied with the particulars like the names, occupation, and addresses of the members who are making application, the name of the trade union and the address of its head office, the title, names, maybe ages, addresses, and occupation of the office bearers of the trade union. And if a trade union has been in existence for more than 1 year, like prior to application, prior to filing of its application to the registration, so a financial statement also would be required, which will be showing its assets and liabilities prepared in the prescribed form, along with the application for registration. And besides every application, it must be accompanied with a copy of rules of trade union, complying with items as specified under Section 6 of the Trade Union Act 1926. Then we have certain rights and duties of registrar, which is being given by the Section 7 of the Act. So it empowers the registrar of trade union to make, if required, so further inquiries on receipt of application for registration, so that he is fully satisfied by the details which are being provided by the applicants. However, such inquiries can be made only from the application and not from any other source. That means all the details that have been furnished by the applicants, registrar can verify and satisfy and get and make himself satisfied through those information details. So the duties of registrar of trade unions in matter of registration of trade union, they are laid down under Section 8 of the Act. And on having been satisfied with the requirements for the registration of the union, the registrar shall register the trade union by entering in a register, and the letter to this effect has to be issued to the trade union. And in case of non-satisfaction of registrar with the compliance of requirements, the refusal for registration also has to be issued to the trade union, as the case may be. And basically, according to the Act, no time limit for the grant of refusal of registration has been prescribed in the Trade Union Act. However, there are legal directives that have been issued by the court to the Registrar of Trade Union to perform statutory duty imposed upon. And these are under Section 7 and Section 8, which deals with the application of trade union according to the law. And National Commission of Labor has also suggested that 30 days, excluding the time which the union takes in answering queries from the registrar for the grant or refusal of registration by the registrar. And Trade Union Amendment Bill 1982, it has provided for the insertion of the words like within a period of 60 days from the date of such compliance. And where, however, registrar refuses to grant registration to a trade union, he is under an obligation to state reasons for refusing to grant registration. And then lastly is the legal status of registered trade union. So once registrar is satisfied with the details which have been furnished by the applicants, trade union assumes a corporate body by the name under which it is registered. That means after getting the approval from the registrar, a registered trade union shall have perpetual succession and its common seal. A registered trade union is now a legal entity which is distinct from its members, of which the trade union is composed, and it enjoys power to contract and to hold property both movable and immovable, and to sue and to be sued by the name in which it is registered. So this is how you can one can register trade union with the registrar. So this was all about introduction of trade unions, its salient features, and how one can register trade union with the registrar. That's for all today. Thank you.